Get a new Apple Card account by July 25th and get 10% back on App Store purchases for your first 6 months, up to $100 daily cash. Terms apply. You can earn on games like Candy Crush Saga and Roblox, subscriptions like Apple TV Plus, in-app purchases, and all the good stuff. Apply now in the Wallet app on iPhone. Subject to credit approval, 10% daily cash earned on up to a maximum of $1,000 in qualifying purchases is valid only for the first 180 days for new Apple Card accounts open between 7/11 and 7/25. To make a qualifying purchase, your new Apple Card must be set as the default payment method for the Apple ID associated with your Apple account in the App Store. You must have a zero balance on all digital Apple accounts associated with your Apple ID. Visit apple.co/App Store for more important offer details.
On How Rude, Tanneritos, the Full House Rewatch podcast. Join characters Stephanie Tanner and Kimmy Gibbler, also known as actresses Jodie Sweetin and Andrea Barber, as they relive every episode of your favorite Friday night comfort show.
We spent our entire childhoods on a little show called Full House, playing frenemies, but becoming besties whenever the cameras weren't rolling. And now, 35 years later, it's our biggest adventure yet.
Listen to How Rude, Tanneritos on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month, we're talking about adventurers, women who refuse to be confined. They push the boundaries of where a woman could go and how she could get there. Today, we're talking about a 19th century healer who was ahead of her time. This self-taught nurse used her own money to sail across the world and set up shelter for wounded Crimean War soldiers. Let's talk about Mary Seacole. Mary was born on November 23, 1805 in Kingston, Jamaica, to a Scottish Army officer and a Jamaican healer. During this time, many Black people born in the Caribbean were enslaved. But since Mary's father was white, she was not. Mary's mother was a doctress who used traditional Caribbean and African medicine to treat people. The doctress also ran a boarding house in Kingston where she treated injured soldiers. It was there that Mary got firsthand experience practicing medicine. She practiced on her dolls and pets before working alongside her mother. From a young age, Mary yearned to travel. She first satisfied that urge when she was around 18 years old. She boarded a ship headed to England, where she would stay with relatives. Mary used her time in England to learn modern European medicine. From there, she spent the next few years visiting Haiti, Cuba, and the Bahamas before returning to Kingston in 1826. Mary worked with her mother for several years before marrying Edwin Seacole in 1836. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't last long. Edwin became sick, and Mary spent her time nursing him until his death in 1844. Soon after, Mary's mother also passed away. Both of these deaths affected Mary deeply, and she decided to dedicate her life to caring for the sick. In the 1840s, the world was hit by the third major cholera outbreak, which reached Jamaica by the 1850s. Mary treated those infected with the disease in Kingston. After that, she traveled to Panama, only to find her skills were needed once again. After one of her brother's friends died suddenly, Mary sprung into action and diagnosed the cause as cholera. Because she traveled everywhere with her medical kit, she was able to get to work. The town where she was visiting had no doctor otherwise. Mary used mustard emetics to induce vomiting, warm cloths to combat chills, plasters on the stomach and the back, and doses of mercury chloride. In the end, she claimed she was able to save her first cholera patient in Panama. But there wasn't much time for rest. Back in Jamaica, there were more patients to care for during the 1853 yellow fever epidemic. Around that time, Russia invaded Turkish principalities. French and British troops intervened to prevent Russian expansion into a weakened Ottoman Empire, and the Crimean War broke out. Mary heard news of the bloody fighting and the poor medical facilities for the wounded. She wanted to help. The first step was to travel to London to offer her services to the British Army. They turned her down. But Mary was not deterred. It was back on a ship, this time the Hollander, bound for the front lines of the Crimean Peninsula. Without support from the British government, she funded her own trip and set up a British hotel with a relative of her late husband. The hotel took inspiration from the boarding house she worked at with her mother and was a haven for wounded soldiers. Mary's hotel was located near Balaclava, which was very close to the war zone. She would visit the battlefield to nurse the wounded. Her bedside manner was said to be so kind, the soldier gave her the nickname Mother Seacole. Mary's contemporary, Florence Nightingale's military hospital, was far from the front lines across the water in Turkey. After the war, Mary moved back to London with very little money. Her work on the battlefield, however, was not forgotten. The surviving British soldiers praised Mary. They wrote letters to the newspapers detailing what she'd done for them. In 1857, a fundraising gala was held in Mary's honor. That same year, she published a memoir, Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands. The book, which became a bestseller, details her work during the Crimean War, but gives little detail about her early life. Mary spent the remaining 20 years of her life between London and Kingston. She died in London on May 14, 1881, at the age of 75. Mary Seacole's life was largely forgotten for nearly 100 years. That is, until in 1973, a group of Jamaican nurses found Mary's grave. The group was disappointed to see her grave had not been cared for and had it reconsecrated. They also fought to restore her legacy. In 2016, a statue of Mary Seacole was unveiled on the grounds of St. Thomas's Hospital in London. All month, we're talking about adventurers. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, before we go, does anyone need to use the bathroom?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
You're sure you're sure?
Yep.
There are some things in life you can't trust.
Mommy?
Oh, come on. And there are some things you can, like the HP Smart Tank printer. With up to 2 years of ink included and outstanding print quality, you can always rely on the HP Smart Tank. From HP, America's most trusted printer brand. Available at Best Buy.
On How Rude, Tanneritos, the Full House Rewatch podcast. Join characters Stephanie Tanner and Kimmy Gibbler, also known as actresses Jodie Sweetin and Andrea Barber, as they relive every episode of your favorite Friday night comfort show.
We spent our entire childhoods on a little show called Full House, playing frenemies, but becoming besties whenever the cameras weren't rolling. And now, 35 years later, it's our biggest adventure yet.
Listen to How Rude, Tanneritos on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Go anywhere in a reliable Toyota SUV, complete with the tech you need for any adventure. Like a RAV4, with available panoramic view monitoring, giving you more visibility than ever before. Or check out a Highlander, available in hybrids to combine efficiency and all the space you need. Or a Venza, available with a 12.3-inch touchscreen and premium sound system. Choose your Toyota SUV today. Visit buyatoyota.com for more, and let's go places.